Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 494, and today we're doing battle in the Fates Voyage Onward Worlds Qualifier Open. And so, as we say at the beginning of all of our best of 3 videos, if you want in-depth guides on any of these decks, you can just scroll backwards through the channel. We've covered off on all of these decks a bunch of times. Also, if you're wanting to just skip ahead to the gameplay, today we're going to be playing Jax Ornn, Aatrox Vayne, and Galio, Jarvan, Garen. Garen is a new addition for the day. And so, with the way that we typically start these, I usually go a little bit more in depth. I actually remembered to make kind of a primer to the open video this time around, and so you can check that one out if you want. It'll go a little bit more in depth than we'll talk here today, but the kind of general idea that we're going to be doing, in case you didn't watch that, is I feel like this is a either ban Janna or play against Janna kind of format. The basis of your entire lineup has to be built on the back of whether or not you tend to play against Nilah, Janna, and then to a lesser extent the other Janna decks. We plan to play against them. And then the other question is, do you want to bring it at all in your lineup? Which I feel like you typically probably should. I feel like it's far and away the best deck in the format, and it's a very hard deck to legitimately counter. And the problem I have with it, though, is that we don't plan to ban it, and I do not feel very comfortable playing mirror matches, just kind of a function of sitting around and making a bunch of content. A lot of my time is drawn to playing kind of off-meta decks, trying to bring different decks every day of the week, and I just can't get the reps in with that singular deck that I feel like you really need when a lot of the kind of top of the meta players are able to really just kind of grind hard with 5 and 6 different decks. And so I'm not complaining. There's no complaints within that statement. It's just a statement of fact, and I don't really feel comfortable sitting around playing Janna-based mirror matches all day when we don't plan on banning Janna to begin with. And so the things that I did kind of incorporate into our lineup, we're playing matchups that aren't bad to slightly good against Nilah, Janna, and also Scouts. That was the main idea with this lineup, is if we never have to ban Nilah, Janna, or Scouts, then we should be able to ban out the decks that really do come in and give us problems. So things like Shen, Jarvan, things like Ashe, LeBlanc, things like Teemo, Yuumi, elusives. We can look to ban those to where we most certainly have a lot of bad matchups and feel a little bit safer in that sense, given that our matchups against the good decks aren't terrible. And so that's kind of idea number one. The next idea is I really do want to protect our Demacia Freylord deck. The ways that you're typically attacking that in this format are going to be things like elusives. I do worry about the presence of people trying to just hard counter the Freylord Demacia deck, since that was the counter kind of typically to the Nilah, Janna decks. And so all of our decks feature the maximum possible copies of Omen Hawks and blocking Badger Bears, as that gives us a little bit of effectiveness against those elusives-based strategies, so we aren't just like staring each other down, hoping that our overwhelms happen to be bigger and faster than the opposing elusives, which they never are. The last kind of thing that I like with these lineups and what we have brought here today is I really like tough and I really like 4 health units in this meta. As we do look to play against things like Nilah, Janna, they're exceptionally good at dealing 3 damage. And if you're able to put tough onto a unit, they probably need 2 spells to kill it now. If you're playing something like blocking Badger Bear, they probably need 2 spells to kill it now. If you have a Duran Sculptor on the board turning a bunch of 3 health units into 4 health units, then they probably need 2 removal spells to take them down. And so while it's not enough to really be like, oh boy, we are super favored against Nilah, Janna because we have 4 health units, it's hopefully enough of a roadblock to allow our decks to function in the sense that they are required to get 2 for 1 as they try to take down our units. And so that is the general strategy. We can pull up the deck lists again real quick. Again, if you watched our primer video, almost essentially everything here is the same. No changes within Aatrox Vayne. Again, I like the tough units with the Defector and the blocking the tough units with the Elkin and the Defector, the 4 health units with the blocking Badger Bear. I really like that kind of stat heaviness within here, and then nothing too crazy within this deck. We have the 10 equipment in it, and we do have the full 3 blinding assaults. As you do play against decks like Scouts, they're able to interact with combat typically. but they don't have removal spells. And so you can find a lot of games that are won on the back of Valor along with the Darkened Harp. I've been quite happy with that combo in those matchups. Up next, we have Galio Jarvan. This is the only list we've changed since the previous video. I did cut out one copy of Wrath of the Freylord to add in one copy of Garen. I felt like we were running into a lot of spaces to where we had managed to get a lot of board width, but our formidables were all too small to really be relevant. And so you would have like two health units and 2 3 health units on the board, and you just couldn't really do anything. I do like that Garen is able to come down and bring that kind of extra healing effect that can boost all of those formidables up, because I did find some spots to where even if Wrath of the Freylord came down, the rest of our board was too small to really take advantage of what was happening. And so made that change in here. Otherwise, nothing too crazy within this list. Last but not least, we have Jax Ornn. No changes within this one. The only thing to really call out with Jax Ornn is we have 2 copies of Bellows Breath in here. This is a card that I do like against Nilah Janna, and that it kills all of their non-champion units. It doesn't kill like everything, but if you're able to use it to maybe kill off a damaged Mariam and then kill off 2 or 3 of the quick attack units, that is a very, very effective attack. And so it's okay there. It does have some usage against decks like Scouts. It doesn't kill, you know, a lot of the 3 health draws that they can get if they start playing like Misfortunes into Scrutinizing Sergeants. You're going to feel like kind of a dum-dum in terms of getting board clears with Bellows Breath. But as you are up against those curves to where they go like Marai Warden into Island Navigator, and you get to kill all of their units but one, it does have a lot of effectiveness in those spaces. And so again, I don't look at it as being a full-on game ender against those style of decks, but it does give us a little bit of play into those 2 matchups that we look to play against every time. And so that's it. Those are the decks. You know what we have to do before the battles begin. We got to pay that pay-to-win price, and it is tough today. There's only one thing. This is it. This is all we have today. The Wrath of the Freylord catching that premium treatment, because everything else has already got it. All of our cards in the lineups today are going to be prismatic. All of the champion skins have been purchased. We just picked up this fresh Aatrox skin, and so we are ready to go. And that's, you know, one of the things I do also like about this lineup is I feel, you know, pretty comfortable with all of these decks in the sense that we've played a bunch of Aatrox Vayne. We've played Jax Ornn in like the last 3 or 4 opens. I really enjoy Jax Ornn. And then we played a lot of the Balin-based formidables in the last Eternal season. And so these are all decks that, you know, are kind of like bread and butter for me. That's something I always stop to kind of consider as we look to pay to win and turn stuff premium, and it's already been done across all of our decks. And you kind of know that we've got a few games of these decks under our belts. All right, there's the lineup. Let's jump on in. We do have the 2 buys in this one, so we get to start off with the 2 free wins, getting those prime glories. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how it starts. I suspect we're going to get another 5 and 3 today. that's my note off the start. And so it looks like a touch of off-meta stuff here. We can pull these up. I don't think things like Riven, Master Yi are going to turn up. The other options here, Heimerdinger Jayce is probably the one that we're going to look to ban. Yeah, it's not even turning up in terms of our matchup table. And then Janna Ionia. I'm not certain if that's going to turn up in here as well. Janna Seraphine's are, Janna on her own are not. And so I think this is the one that I'm probably going to be the most worried about, is the Heimerdinger Jayce. The Cosmic Call does have a lot of play into things like Aatrox Vayne, since their late game just tends to be better than your late game. And I think we can handle these other decks otherwise. I'm curious what's going on with this Janna. Given that she's by herself and in Ionia, and why aren't you playing Karma or something, or playing Sett as the more scary champion? But I guess we'll find out. Just strikes me as being some kind of weird combo deck or something. But alrighty, let's jump on in. We'll kick things off with Jax Ornn. I feel like this is probably the stronger of the 2, and if we have to run into something crazy, I feel like this is going to be the kind of more straightforward attacky deck, and we can see where that takes us. And so not a particularly strong start. I'm just going to go ahead and take a full mulligan. I would like to find some early game unit boosters. And my kind of stance on this space is taking the full mulligan. We'll probably find a 3 by the time we hit turn 3 anyways. And so I don't feel the need to just sit around and hold on to that, that improvise unit. We'll probably pick something up. And bit of a bummer of a draw. Nothing turning up to this point, but the innovative blacksmith here to help turn things around. Ornn is a very interesting draw, as we'll roll into turn 5, be able to make a overwhelm play with the Wild Claw's Ferocity, and then we'll have Ornn ready on turn 7 to attack flipped. It's kind of awkward being on turn 7 going into Ionia, since they can stun him and stuff, but we'll see how that plays out. And so typically I want things like Fish-a-Whack, so that when we do play that Ornn, he can get access to Overwhelm. But I'm going to go with the fearsome equipment here. I want to have the 3 health, so we can kind of come in and interact with these units, and then it can actually get into combat with like a Blade Squire and not die. It's not the space to where I want to come in and just be really aggressive right out the gates.
No more mud for me. No way.
All right, so Combat Cook coming in. We'll go with the Pan of Pain. Again, we're kind of on the back foot, trying to be a bit defensive here. Now he survives against all of these 2 health units. He can potentially threaten to take down a Riven if she comes into combat here. I think this is fine. Who you going for? You got your pick of the litter as to who you want to Rune Squire down. Quick attack, sure thing. Okay, so Riven doesn't get into combat. 1 fragment away from flipping, so she'll be kind of scary here soon. But I think I'm pretty okay still with just with slamming with the Wild Claw's Ferocity onto the Blacksmith. Otherwise, you know, what's our hand really capable of doing? I don't think we're going to need to flash freeze next turn. It's a very important thing to have access to as we're up against Riven and her trying to OTK. And so we should be able to next turn be like Harsh Winds and Jax, or at least drop at 3 Sisters. But the thing I don't want to have happen on next turn is not having 2 blockers, right? If he wants to go big, he can hook our big Wild Claw's Ferocity unit out of combat with a Rune Squire. And then we're kind of hurting. And so I think we can just add Jax. I don't really plan on attacking with Jax here, but I want to ensure that we have access to this additional unit. And maybe you'll do something cool like Concussive Palm Jax, and we don't even really have to worry about it. Oh, each round, the first time an ally with 5 power attacks rally. Okay. Okay, that's a little scary. That's a little scary, I'll give it that. So I'm curious how much of the Ionia interactive suite we really have to worry about with this deck. You know, if you're playing things like Trifarian Training Pits in the Riven package, do you really have room for things like Concussive Palm and for things like, I don't know, Unworthy Soul, the flow spell that bounces a unit? I don't think so. I mean, I bet there's some interactivity in here, but it's going to be like combat tricks. I don't think this is a space to where we're going to be stuck worrying about... I don't think it's a space to where we're going to be stuck worrying about... the bigger spells. Oof. How scary is this Riven? Huh. I initially thought, it's like, oh, this is just like a pretty easy Harsh Winds, right? But, like, he has so much mana at this point that if we Harsh Winds the Riven, like, we're going to block and then flash freeze it, but if we Harsh Winds, we're kind of counting on the 3 Sisters to be the thing to get us out of this, and I don't think that's really safe enough, and so I'm just going to go for the flash freeze. We'll have 2 mana left over, and if he can get up to 10 mana on this Riven, or 10 attack on this Riven, then fuck me, right? But I think this is the safer way to go about it. It's like definitely in the wheelhouse to where He can play 2 and 3 combat tricks. He has like a million cards in his hand to get Riven up to size to take the Wild Claw down at 7. I don't think that's happening at 10. I don't know. There is the kind of thought and idea that we could have tried to bait it a little bit, in the sense that if we play the Harsh Winds, shrink them all, and then he dumpsters a bunch of spells onto Riven to get her up to 7, then we can survive with the catch. But that sounds sketchy to me. I don't think I like that. The other thing we could have looked at doing in this combat was to Harsh Winds or shrink something before he attacks, right? So that we get that opportunity, or take that opportunity from him to rally away. But I don't think I'm on board with that. Now that he's spent all of his mana, we can protect our Jax here. Give him that bonus health. He's going to be safe from a follow-up Blade Squire as well. If he has a bonus attack for the Blade Squire, I mean, fine, whatever.
Just my luck.
Okay. Not too worried about the equipment destruction here. We should still be able to pretty safely get Ornn down. Do we want to copy Fearsome? I think we want to copy. Oh, he already has Tough. Oh, shit. No. Ooh, that was the wrong one. I forgot we had Jax on board. We should have definitely just copied the Light of Acacia to make sure that we get the Overwhelm on Ornn. That was sloppy. Hopefully we get our sloppy out this game and fix it the rest of the way. There's the Concussive Palm. Didn't quite expect that again, but still looking pretty strong here. There's a ton of Overwhelm coming through, and he can only block 4 points of health.
Is that all you got?
So far, so good.
You cannot win.
It's to pick up 3 health to get out of this. I don't know what's Meditate cost. The Master Yi kind of spell that gives you the attack card after you play it. Maybe if you had 2 of those. I don't remember.
Gotta keep that light burning.
All right, victory unlocked. On to the next one. No flash freezes coming out of this deck. You got to worry a little bit more about the Riven OTKs with Aatrox Vayne, but let's see what we can do. So this is interesting. Like, I do like these starts to where you have the Darkened Harp and you have the Ranger Knight Defector, but like up against Riven, that's pretty scary in the sense that if she comes out and just tries to go for the big OTK plays, it doesn't really matter how scary we're being on turn 5, right? She probably can't try and kill us until turn 6, but I think the Defector is probably a tough keep here. We'll still hang on to the Harp. This is the only equipment I'll hang on to in the early game. It's just so powerful in terms of generating a lot of tempo in the early game, but the other ones can all go. And a pretty reasonable mulligan here. That's not who we wanted to see. Alright, well, we'll slow things down with the equipment for a moment. And so you start to have the question, right? Do we really want to be building up into this Defector? We can wait a little bit of time and try and get him going on turn 5. Let's just go ahead and add in the Badger Bear for the moment. I was initially wanting to do the thing to where we just keep that 2-bank. We'll play Vayne here, and then we'll try and get the Defector going on our open attack on turn 5, since we have the banked mana for the Harp. But with him picking up the equipment, it gets a little bit more awkward. Nice trade there. I was kind of curious if he was going to be building up kind of an OTK board to where you have the Badger Bear with 1 health and then the other unit with 2 health, and you can try and get creative in terms of taking those units down. Doesn't look like it. He just takes the trade on the small unit and leaves us with the Badger Bear that's just bigger than Riven. So, curious what happens in this space.
To restore this legacy is my greatest honor.
All right, let's kick off with the Bloodletters. That was a pretty decent draw. Well, here, let's actually do this. We can get pretty much everything going here. We can play Vayne. It's going to put the Tumble into our hand. We can follow up with the Bloodletters onto the Defector. He's going to blow up the Bloodletters. And then we have a couple of choices. Now that the unit's scouty, Scout might just be enough to where we don't need to play any more equipment. But I would say it's extremely likely that we're going to be putting the Darken Harp onto the Defector. Now, the kind of interesting thing, though, is if we are just happy with the Scout attacks, we can leave the Harp in hand until we get to next turn, and then just tumble the Harp onto board. I think I'm kind of on board with that. Or we can... it's a little slower if we want to Cataclysm it, but... Interesting. How big's he gonna go? we can mid-combat switch into the quick attacks. Interesting. He goes for the Whirling Death. So we can catch out of the Whirling Death, but we still lose our unit. I think that's okay. Like, if this gets him to play another more expensive combat trick, then that feels like a win for us. Right, the things that we kind of like to see against this Riven deck are to just drain the combat tricks out of their hand now, and then if we can have him go into his next turns just not having any spell mana, it really limits how much he's able to ramp up into the big Riven attack. I mean, granted, the way this game's gone and being at 20, I feel like the most Riven will hit us for next turn would be like 16. I don't think he's got built up enough to where she's going to be able to get the kills on us. But we'll have to see. I want to play my Bloodletters. Let's see what playing the Harp does. We're not going to get around him having that equipment removal in hand, but why is this one less? Master Yi cheapened it? Sure. I thought we were going to be able to take that removal off of the board, and then he wasn't going to have the mana to meditate meditate Riven here. But with him having the 1 mana equipment destruction, that didn't work out. How much do we even have to worry about any of this stuff? I don't want to go big with Aatrox here. I want to save him for a later turn. I don't feel like the Elkin's really going to do anything. I'm really looking at just tumbling the Bloodletters onto the Badger Bear and seeing where that gets us. We can potentially just follow up with Cataclysms after this. But I think if he spends his turn dropping a bunch of fragments onto Runesquire to take down Vayne, I feel like that's probably a win for us. I don't think that that's that big of a problem. She's not critical to what we have going on right now. Now, I would love to come in and pick up extra tumbles and stuff, but I don't think it's going to be a necessity. Interesting. Alright, are we making our stand? She's got quick attack, she's got overwhelm, she's got the bonus stats and stuff. Okay. What is this, like 10? So he did all the stuff. We can prevent a couple of points of damage. Like, I definitely want to get in front of the Riven and block this turn. It's a matter of, do we want to throw away Vayne? Probably not. Let's just put down the Elkin. We'll still have the mana next turn to play Aatrox, attack with Aatrox, and then try and Cataclysm Aatrox into Vayne, or into Riven. So we can try and get her killed and gain a bunch of health along the way. Gotta stop and do the overwhelm check. It's like we can almost get into the next turn and oh fuck, Spirit's Refuge, really? I guess that's one we should have known to play around. I'm gonna say we can look to get into the next turn and get kills with Zolani. That's annoying. The other thing is, if we do take a Cataclysm this turn, it'll flip our Vayne. Is that? How dangerous is that? if we say put a, we don't have the mana to do all this. It's like, what if we put a darkened thing onto Vayne, and then just Cataclysm her right into Riven? She would flip and become a 5 attack, but we're mana short of doing that. It's what we get for playing our darkened dude last turn. Guess we gotta stop there. See if we can't get the Zolani on board and do something with it. I mean, again, it should be kind of tough for him to actually develop an OTK this turn. Needing to deal 16. Maybe it's not that crazy. But we can look to get Zolani on board and then Cataclysm Zolani into Riven, assuming we're not dead. Okay. Not blocking. I definitely don't want to put Vayne in front of this Riven and then give him the opportunity to play a bunch of combat tricks. That's a surefire way to die out here.
We have waited so long, Zolani.
And now peace is just moments away.
So now we have a couple of options, though. We can play Valor. Maybe that's where we should have led off here, was getting Valor on board and then tumbling. Let's see how that goes. Should have just done this before we played the Zolani. I think it's still a good angle, but we did it in the wrong order. So then it's like, if we really wanted to, we could have like Cataclysm something into Riven so that we would still get the flip on Vayne, like if he has a deny or something. And if he gets too crazy here, we can go for a kill. Like if he just takes this damage, then we can look to swing in with our dudes we have left over. I'm not excited about that. That feels to me like a fairly straightforward way to just run into a Whirling Death. And so I will attack with Zolani. You know, we need to threaten something here. Ooh. Well, we can threaten a lot on this next turn. Just coming in and taking a bunch of tumbles and cataclysms into whatever units he has. So what's the best way to go about this? I like these spots to where you can just open attack and then like rally off of the scout hook with Valor. But the scary thing with that is if we like lose Valor, we can't make a tumble after that. So let's do this. Let's kick off the tumbles with our worst unit. I just don't really want to get Zolani involved in combat right now. And I think that this gives us a little bit more of a safety net, right? If he wants to get into combat with the Dark Enthrall and spend a bunch of spells, that's great. If he wants to be in the space to where Concussive Palm, that's fine. The thing that we can do off of a Concussive Palm is we can now Cataclysm into a unit that isn't Riven and try and deal a bunch of damage that way. Right, she's not going to be into combat to where she can Whirling Death now. That one gets denied. Down to 2 mana of things left to worry about. And so how do we want to go about this? My ultimate concern in this space is 2 things. If he has another lifesteal thing, that's a gigantic problem. And if he gets out of this, if we don't kill him here and he gets out of this turn with Riven alive, that's another big problem. I think we can still, you know, come out and win this game, even if, like, the Zolani falls. Right, we can just replay Zolani after that. So let's take the normal attack now. See what happens. See what spells come down. If he, you know, has the barrier or something weird for Riven, then we can still, say, Cataclysm the Dark Enthrall into Riven and try and take her down like that. There's the Spirit's Refuge.
You will not break me.
So let's see how that goes. Now that we're in the next turn, it's going to take him, you know, quite a bit of work to build back up to that OTK space. He doesn't have the Riven on board with Overwhelm. He needs to play a big unit, get Overwhelm on it and stuff. And now we can potentially just World Ender. That's going to turn the Valor into Aatrox, and then we can look to start tumble plays and stuff off of this Aatrox. I think that's probably the way to go about it here. That's fucking scary. Is Vestayan Disciple really the way that we're gonna fall? Let's see how fast we can get on board. We gotta drop the World Ender. I would love to see him deny this World Ender. If he just has to spend all of his mana for the turn, stopping the World Ender instead of killing us with the Disciple. I'd love to see it. Nox and Tellstones. Yeah. He didn't go for the deny. That's tough. We had a lot of choices on that previous turn. I'm curious if there was something that we missed along the way. Damn. Like we had a lot of choices there. I'm happy with how that went for the most part. Like I think we played around everything pretty well there. In the sense that if you get too heavily involved in those combats and then he's able to have the lifesteal card and just completely shut it down because his health total's too high. Like I really like how we managed a lot of that to just get the Riven off of the board and build up a lot of stuff. It's just a little bit short at the end of the day. All right, so now onto this Janna thing again. I'm not entirely certain what we're about to get ourselves into here, but this is a pretty reasonably powerful start against what I assume is going to be a very kind of removal-heavy style of deck. And so we'll get the Elkin down on 2. We can load him up with the Spear. We'll get a 3 bank on the next turn, and then that 3 bank will let us get the Defector into the Darkened Harp. Now we've picked up a Condemn, and so if everything goes according to plan in terms of getting the Defectors on board and getting these attacks in and everything, and then he tries to play Janna on turn 4, getting the Condemn onto Janna is pretty huge. So we'll see if we get thrown for any wrenches or anything here. Still like it. We picked up some pretty good units in the Badger Bear and Vayne, but this Defector requires an immediate and a powerful answer. And so it's like if he wants to play Janna this turn, he's gonna get domed. Evil Imperfectionist. What are we copying today?
Away with you.
Okay. Not a bad little board clear. Not too worried about the Perfectionist itself. Sunken Temple. So how fast can we zing through all of this stuff, right? I'm kind of looking at this in terms of we can add Broadwing and Vayne, and then next turn open attack and then tumble onto the Defector. The downside to that is if he has an interactivity for the tumble, then we're kind of hurting.
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
It's just such a monstrous chunk of damage. And then we can just re-rally the next turn with the tumble again. Alright, he gets to draw 1,000,000 cards though. Let's get this Badger Bear in on this attack as well. So again, another powerful spot to where we just hit with everybody. We do have the hook with the Broadwing if we want. And then we'll be tumbling after the fact. So a nice 11 damage rolling through. Lost a couple of units along the way, but I think that's completely okay. If this tumble pops off, he has to block. Kills one of these units, and then we have 3 units left over to attack with, and we'll have the Condemn to remove something as well. All right. Good stuff. All right, you gotta believe that that's enough, huh? He's got the Divine Whirlwind onto Vayne. Drops the GG emote. I think we did it. We did. Oof, all right. Victory unlocked. GG. Get that 3rd win locked under our belts. Get a win that we had to work for under there as well. Feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. Next battle. I'm still curious what was happening there with the Evil Imperfectionist, what you're looking to copy so much and then redraw off of the Sunken Temples. Give that a I think we're good though. Getting nice and moisturized. Feels good. My hands are ready. The struggles that a computer nerd that plays video games all day has to go through in terms of keeping the hands in order. You got to slap a little moisturizer on there every once in a while, you know? Ooh. Good set of games. Like, this is another one of these opens to where I'm so glad we have this kind of play at your leisure open format. I have a family thing later in the day today that if we were in the kind of older, you know, 1 round per hour Swiss style of event, I just wouldn't be able to play. And so it's nice, at least to this one. I've been kind of thinking, I'm curious if the old seasonal style to where you just have to play 1 match per hour isn't better off than just the play at your own leisure thing. I'm such a huge fan of the play at your own leisure thing. I don't know, but I can certainly see some arguments for the Swiss style. Is it does feel like you run into some spaces to where some people have much more challenging runs than the other ones, kind of just based on the time of day that they play. It's like you load up the Twitter and you always see these dum-dums that try and play like right when the event starts, and then they're weirded out when there's not enough people around to kind of flesh out the queue. But like it's an interesting thing to me in the sense that like I don't think you should be in the spot to where you have to just like you're playing like right when the event opens, and so you just have to play against the same guy 3 times in a row. But like it blows my mind that there's not enough people like running through the queues. Is there really just like 5 people around at the start of the day in terms of who you're able to come in and queue against? I forget who I saw that was posting about it on Twitter, and I don't know what region they play in. It was either EU or NA, but it was kind of wild to me. So here, let's see what the matchups tables say with this one. I know that we have a more real collection of, I should say not real, but on meta collection of decks here. I was going to say, I think Maokai Nautilus is probably the one we're going to have to look to ban. And Janna, Nilah, again, that's fine. I don't really like playing against Karma Sett, and it is kind of odd seeing Aatrox Vayne not turn up as a matchup for Karma Sett. It's not a particularly strong matchup. It's certainly winnable, but a lot of the high power stuff you do against Karma Sett with Aatrox Vayne involves like the needing the bird to survive, which is tough to do, and then Sett is able to just, you know, like knock her down, punch him up, whatever whatever the Sett ultimate is called, onto Aatrox and take him down. And so it's a bit of a worry there, but we'll still be taking down Nautilus at the end of the day. And then let's kick things off with Galio Jarvan. I feel this is probably our strongest matchup into either of these decks, with things like Petricite Charger being able to come in and soak up a lot of the damage that's coming through. So he turns up here. I think this is a reasonable enough start with the Hound, and then the Badger Bear and the Charger picking up the bigger units along the way. Not a matchup to where we're particularly excited about the harsh winds, but I think we can't complain too much about our start otherwise. Wrath of the Frey Lord right on time as well. Right on time, bro. Another Petricite Charger, interesting. I was gonna start with the blocking Badger Bear. I think it just combats a little bit better with Seraphine. But now that we've picked up the additional Charger and we have the Balin, I think we just need to be all formidables here. Alright, so he's gone exploring, sure. I'd prefer it if we had a little bit of protection for Balin, and so it's a tough spot. I want to see how much mana he spends here, and how safe we're going to be in terms of open attacking next turn, right? This does not like scream safe to me. Like his board sucks, sure, but can the Balin soak a 5 damage burst here? It's not a great chance. But I mean, if he does get the attack in, it's so strong. I think I'm still just going to go ahead and drop him to continue to play on curve. It's like, if we get to pick up a Darkened Spear and open with it next turn, that's great. Oh, good, he's going to survive. Just so many good options that we can pick up if we need to, say, Balin dies, but then we curve Charger into another 2-drop or something. Just lots of really strong plays there. I'm going to continue on with the other Charger. It's just, we need these combats to go well, and we need them to go well right out the gates. And so it is nice to attack with Balin, and then have him run into like a concussive palm. Like, it sucks that he's going to get aced by Sett right here, but tag out's fine. It's like if we attack on that open and then he concussive palms and all we do for the turn is get in the 4 points of damage and the formidable bonus, we are just like so far behind after that. So I think that was a fairly safe round. Would have been nice if Sett wasn't as involved, but
Welcome to the arena.
as they say, it is what it is. That's what they're all out there saying. But pretty reasonable combat for this next turn. A lot of big damage rolling through. Jarvan ready to enter the party and hook in for Sett. See if we can't get this overwhelming advantage going. The Sunken Temple. Yeah, we definitely need to be winning this on our next attack token. Picking up a champion strength here or being in the space to where we can win on the next attack. We're not getting another attack after this.
How about a duet?
The interesting thing of note, though, is we do have this Jarvan on board, and we do have this Wrath of the Freylord in hand, and so we can potentially find a space to where we get to Cataclysm the Wrath of the Freylord into something for the overwhelm damage. We'll have to see if that plays itself out. Looks like we're going to be losing our Jarvan, so it's not going to be a thing. But getting the clear on both of his units and taking him down to 5 feels pretty good. And, you know, having the Jarvan in hand ready to come down on the open attack next turn is kind of nice as well. Galio, though. I do enjoy seeing a Galio pop up. I think that's where we gotta go. It's just the Galio turns both of our Petricite Chargers into lethals, and we're gonna be at 23 when Galio comes on plus 8. 23 plus 8's like 31. That gives us quite a bit of wiggle room in terms of still having him flipped next turn, right? He's got to deal 10 damage to our units to try and prevent Galio from flipping here. A lot of bust math coming at you there. I know none of that was accurate, but that's what we're going for. Says that's too much. GG. Alright, so now we get 2 shots with Aatrox Vayne. Again, the Aatrox Vayne into Nilah match, that's pretty even. And then the match into Karma Sett, while not favorable, it's certainly winnable. You can pick up a lot of these matches to where they can't really stop a Ranger Knight Defector. To me, a lot of it feels like it comes down to how many unworthy souls you have to run into, right? That's the kind of big thing, is if you add a unit to the board, you put an equipment on it, they unworthy soul it, and then you just get tempoed and lose the equipment. Like, those are pretty painful. So we'll see if that's something that brings itself to the forefront, if you will. We'll get the Badger Bear in. I'm gonna hook the Seraphine with the Broadwing. I don't have particularly high expectations for what this can do. But it's ultimately just the safer one, in the sense that if we hook in Mariam and then he's got a high note or something, we just end up completely outright losing the unit and he doesn't lose anything. And then wearing down this Seraphine can be nice, trying to get the attacks in with these additional Broadwings. Let's do this. Let's lead with this one. I'm curious if we don't either have some removal come out and then we find a better spot to play a Darkened Spear, or how he's going to handle this. And so I think this is fine. We'll load up the Broadwing now. Then we get to save the catch and have it maybe be a little bit more effective. Second Aatrox kind of sucks. Right. Nice catch, nice chunk of damage. So we'll let him know that we have the harp. It's kind of an awkward spot with nothing to do on the turn, but I think it's fine to go ahead and plant it. I don't suspect the Broadwing is going to be long for this world, but we'll give him a chance. Oh man, he's got a spell shieldy Sett. It's kind of fucked. We'll just pass. I mean, it doesn't feel great, but I don't think we're gonna like run out of things to do in terms of mana this turn. Also helps in the sense that, you know, he had some mana left over for the Sett not spending. Not being spent, I should say. Maybe this is where the kind of sucks though, is as we're in this spot to where, you know, maybe we could have just hooked Sett out of combat. Cuss of Palm onto Aatrox, but man, we get that 6 hit in with the Badger Bear. That's pretty cool. Is he just gonna blow up our Darkened Blade? I was thinking to myself, we do have this opportunity to like play a Darkened Harp on top of the Aatrox so that we get to protect his equipment. I don't think that's ultimately gonna be too necessary, but we got a chance for that kind of thing. Striatu's an 8/6. I was looking to just start adding Darken to the board. We have the Cataclysm in hand, and so while we may not be Cataclysming in on Sett, we can get a secondary attack out of the Darken Harp. There is no music as soothing as silence. No truer words have ever been spoke. Okay. That didn't go as awesome as one would have hoped, but it kind of is what it is, and we're not missing out. We don't have too much to actually play out of hand at this point. He goes for the heal. Sett is 7 away from flipping, so I'm sure he'll get that done next turn. How do we feel about just world ending? We've got the Anaka underneath the Broadwing. We have a little bit of protection here. I mean, our hand doesn't really do anything else. Let's just bring some Oblivion, you know? Okay. Still got massive Aatrox on board. We've got a hook for Sett and stuff. We got some options out here. Ooh, that's a good flip though. That's a good flip. Getting oh, he does it this way. Okay. I was gonna say, man, we can we can look to like get that 1 power hook into Sett, but then he was gonna flip and go up to 2 health, so it was kind of off the table. This Telstone's into Progress Day. So he's spent 9 mana at this point. You can get an Obliterator in hand, whatever whatever the thing is called. I'm just eyeballing this Cataclysm into the Tail of the Dragon. He's already played 1 Deny. I think that's all that this deck typically plays. So let's see if we can't just end the game. If not, we might be able to get some Anaka-based shenanigans happening next turn, and we do still have a secondary Aatrox in hand. Alright, rip it and roll it. I think that's enough. It is. GG. Well played. Victory number 2. Yes, Oblivion. All right, cue it up. Whew. Hope you all are having a nice Sunday out there. Should be good. You can like wake up in the morning, turn on this video, and then just go and watch the Chiefs game. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty reasonable day for me. But let's see. This is a lineup that's a little bit more in tuned with taking down our I just keep wanting to call it our blue-white deck. Where's this at? Teemo, Yuumi. Take down our Freylord deck, right? If we take a look at these, Darius Gnar has decent matchups against both Volibear and Aatrox Vayne. The Teemo deck is the more painful point here. We're going to have to just come in and ban the Teemo deck. It looks like from the numbers, we should expect our opponent to just ban out Jax Ornn. If we're going to look to ban Teemo, which gets you into kind of an interesting brain space as to where maybe if he's just going to ban out Jax Ornn, then we look to ban out Darius Gnar. So then we get to try and play Aatrox Vayne against the remaining deck, but I think that's a little bit too much. Let's just take the Teemo out of the mix. And then these aren't, spectacular matchups running into Darius Gnar, but they're certainly in the space of winnable. Ooh, that's the way to try and take them, huh? You drop the zinger, you bring the ban, you level them, right? Ugh, I don't like leveling that far. That's too much. The other concern you start to have with that is, like, let's say it goes right, and we lead off with Aatrox Vayne, and he leads off with Janna Nilah, and then we, oh man, it's starting to happen, isn't it, huh? I was gonna say, and then he leads off with Janna Nilah, but we win, and then we have to 2-0 with the bad matchup left over into, I don't know, it's weird. I don't know. I just wanna just take these decks out and call it a day. But let's see, up against Janna Nilah. I like starting with Badger Bears. It's be a little bit better on the even attacks. We could slow them down a little bit more, but this is okay. And we'll hang on to the Darkened Harp. Again, it's the only one I like to keep. It's not as strong in this match as it would be the other ones, right? Since they play so much removal, we're not going to be pulling off this Blinding Assault into Darken Harp. But it's still quite strong with the Defectors. That's one of the higher powered plays you can send into them. So we'll see how it goes. Opponent keeps one. See if it was a good one. We can drop the Elkinen now. I still want to maintain our curve in the sense of playing Badger Bear next turn, playing the Defector on turn 4, and then having the 2 mana for the Harp.
A game. Go on then.
Interesting. He just must have a very expensive hand, taking a massive bank on the turn.
You are not alone.
Janna turns up. Let's start up that attacking thing everybody's talking about. Boo, that's lame. We still get good attacks out of our scout unit, right? But not nearly as potent as we had hoped.
Something the matter.
Alright, so he does get to keep his Janna on the board. It's not horrible. Not horrible. Then we should have a pretty high-powered round next turn. I'm going to add in the Badger Bear. That's all well and good. Windborn Mariner's coming through, sure thing. How many cards are we going to have here, bro? How many are we going to have? All right, well, we gotta soak these spells where we can. I'm fine to lose either of these units in this space. Ooh. What? What? Is he gonna, like, Rocket Barrage? Rocket Barrage doesn't even seem good here.
Perhaps the answer lies in
I don't know. Maybe we just weren't supposed to block? I don't know what happened there. Interesting.
Isn't this getting old?
So I don't think we'll play the second catch. Like, if we win this combat, great. Otherwise, we have to get Janna off the board this turn, and so we'll get our Aatrox in. I don't feel particularly safe trying to condemn Janna off of anything else. Ow. Ow. Let's send everybody.
Not another step.
Aatrox gets to zing the Janna. Didn't have the health to catch onto our smaller unit, but do have a pretty powerful board here. He gets to face with the Sunken Temple. He's going to draw like 1,000 cards on this turn. Probably another 1,000 on next turn as well, but we're close. We're close to getting there. Flipped Nilah.
Ashlesh's power is mine to command.
Interesting. We'll just continue to pass. I wanted this attack thing with Nilah to happen first. And then we can try and catch out of this. So we'll add the Elkinen now, we'll add the Blinding Assault. Unfortunately, probably gonna be losing Aatrox here, but hopefully this is one of these spots to where, you know, he plays the removal on Aatrox, he dies, next turn we hook Nilah with the Blinding Assault, and then he has a removal spell for the blocking Badger Bear. That's a fair thing to assume, and then we're able to finish this game off with the catch. We're gonna pick up the Darkened Blade though. It's gonna make him have to do quite a bit of work under this Badger Bear as well. Certainly on the table against this dumb deck, but at least make him work for it, you know. All right, GG. So now we get 2 shots with the Formidables. See if he switches it up to his better matchup. Does not. Okay. So what do we got here? We can kick things off with the Broadwing. We need to find some other units though, so we'll get rid of the Sky Splitter. I'd like to find the unit boosters in this match. Again, like a single Omen Hawk can switch it up to where all of their removal spells now don't kill anything and they have to play 2 spells instead of 1. So didn't turn up. Got a fantastic curve though.
I slay horrors and I smile. Elation and water.
I hate running into this attack so much. And so the only thing that really punishes us here is if he has a second Nilah in his hand and he's able to play the Formless Blade directly onto the Broadwing. And it's not that bad if he actually has it, but like this attack, it's like, do you really want to make this attack just to get the Slipstream? That never seems like it's good enough to me. So I'm always a little questionable about that attack coming in. Now with this space, another kind of interesting spot in the sense that if we want to kill Janna next turn, we need to take the bank on this mana, but I don't think we're gonna build to that when we have the Balin on board. Now this is one of these spots to where it's always a little meh to get your blocking Badger Bears involved in combat with the opponent's Pool Sharks, because now it just dies to everything, right? It dies to literally every removal spell in the opposing deck, and so it makes me a little worried, but is what it is.
The Zephyr heralds the squall.
Ooh, second Balin. So the interesting thing with this is, are we going to champion strength next turn, right? So as far as this board goes, we have a couple of choices in the sense that we can play to Gentleman's Duel and 2 bank into turn 6 and then play champion strength. We can open attack, get Janna involved in combat, try and smash with it for a ton as far as these other units are concerned. Play the Badger Bear after combat and then champion strength next turn, or we can play the Balin and not. With opponent having this much mana, I'm leaning towards just taking this open. We'll see how things go in terms of playing Gentleman's Duel. If he wants to play the removal spell down here, that's kind of fine. It also gives us a bit of opportunity to try and say Gentleman's Duel down the Janna if we want, which should be ultimately pretty safe in this space with Balin. I think this is the way I'm going to try and take it, so we can get her off of the board, protect the Broadwing, and then have that additional unit next turn for a for the champion strength.
A gentle breeze to my vortex shall
I wonder what that spell was that was about to roll in. He put a spell down and pulled it back like he was going to cast a burn onto Balin.
You called and I answered.
Interesting.
I will aid you, Nilah. For you
And
face
Nilah.
monsters.
Okay.
It is the monsters that face
It's like I'm a little bit leery to play the champion strength now, given given that he just pulled that pump fake on us, you know? Huh.
Wind need not be seen to move our world.
Leap of faith, huh?
I mean, we have a pretty good hand at this point. We can look to add the Petricite Charger and then just Gentleman's Duel something. Like, I think this is just good enough.
Together we shall watch over those who need us. Let this draft guide your hand.
Rip Vayne. Okay. Rip Bird. Okay. He's gonna take all our spells. He's gonna take all our stuff off the board. We've still got pretty good attacks here. I know like Nilah's getting really close to flipping, and that's always kind of scary, but this kind of feels like we should be able to go into this next turn. Like he probably needs to play a card, and then we can just open with the we can play the champion strength immediately after. Like,
Rethink your choices.
he's pretty far away from being able to get these lethals on us, and it's not like he's played a parallel convergence or anything, and so he shouldn't be in this spot to where he just has a bunch of ridiculous attacks pop up out of nowhere next turn. Okay. Down to one card. Let's see how bad it gets. He loses a slipstream. Interesting. I expect this animation to end, and then he's gonna have like 7 cards in hand. that's the only way I know for this deck to do anything. The only way it ever works. Okay, let's get everybody healed back up. Don't want our delightful formidables only dealing single points of damage, and so get that nice upgrade here. He's got to block something with Nilah, or he's got to have a burn spell in hand. Looks good. We got a Naka ready to come down next turn if we want. We can open the Jarvan. The Jarvan open here is much safer, right? He can't deal damage to the Petricite Charger. Well, I think we're good. I think we're okay. The flag. To the window. To the wall. Sweat drips down my balls. Oh, skeet skeet, motherfucker. Oh, skeet skeet, goddamn. Y'all know that one? Are you familiar with that? The poetic teachings of Lil Jon. GG. Alright, next battle. Getting the... Oh! No chats, no times. We're just jumping on in. And so what do we have here? This looks like a probable ban onto Karma Sett, but let's pull it up real quick. Take a look at what's happening here. And so there is Seraphine Sett. There is Jax Ornn. There is Nilah Janna. Where you at? And so it looks like, pulling it up, it's kind of interesting in that Jax Ornn actually looks like the one that we're probably wanting to ban. I hate having to do it so much because I just don't like playing against Seraphine Sett. It's not something that brings a ton of joy into my life. But looking at the matchup table here, you would have to kind of suspect that Jax Ornn is going to be the ban across the board from us and then also from him as he... Oh, I'm sorry. No, he'll probably leave that up. He's gonna take down the. I guess the Freylord deck would make sense, right? It's something that should typically be good against Nilah Janna. It's not the exact version that we have pulled up here. We aren't playing Volibears or anything, but I guess that makes sense. But we'll get Jax Ornn out of here. Oh, it leaves it up. Takes away our Aatrox. Aatrox to me is the one that I kind of want the least against the Sett decks, but. there's so much flexibility in what those decks are able to bring forth that it's not crazy to think that they didn't metagame their lineup to be decent against the equipment based decks. All right, reasonable enough start. Omen Hawk, a Durandi Sculptor into the Petrosite Charger. I don't have high expectations for these Durandi Sculptors to survive, but if you're able to start juicing up those health totals and making their removal spells a little bit less effective, very strong. Now this is kind of interesting. Like I think I want to skip on playing the Sculptors, and I just want to add the Petrosite Charger and load it up with Darkened Spears. And then that should get us in a spot to where we can, say, play double Sculptor next turn and hopefully have one stick and then try and get some of those stat bonuses. So it's not like we're really losing out on a ton of stats this turn since we have the Spear to load up on the Charger. I like this a lot. Curious if he was just about to play a burn spell onto the Charger. Maybe not. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's unaware as to what the Charger does. Assembly line. Is this off of Reggie? Okay. I was like, that one does not make a ton of sense to me, but it does give us an opening to get these Sculptors on board. I do like that. Our question is going to be, do we go ahead and just play the Broadwing now so that we're guaranteed to have the challenger for next turn, right? Because we can't play Jarvan, we can't play Galio, we lose out on 1 point of stat, but if we don't specifically draw a 1, 2, or 3 drop, we can't play it next turn. And this feels kind of nice if we even, say, pick up a combat trick or something, and so I think this is kind of on point. Now, are we going to get enough damage out of adding a Durandi Sculptor onto this board, assuming that he plays something like Sett, right? So we add Sculptor, then he adds Sett. That doesn't sound awesome to me. So let's just go ahead and take our attack. Oh no, shit! We gotta pick up the challenger. Maybe we do have to bring this in. I guess Sett isn't ultimately super scary in the sense that he can't combat well with the Broadwing, and he won't have any mana left over. Taking down the Sculptors. Interesting. Okay. I can live with that. Now we do have 2 Darkened Spears in hand. I'm just going to go ahead and reload the Broadwing's health. We're going to be like needing these units to survive. Our hand doesn't really do a ton at this point, especially on a turn like this. Oh man, should we have just hung on to that so that we could play the Champion's Strength? No. That's kind of an awkward one to expect to be coming in and drawing this turn. Do we just still play Jarvan though? I think we do. It's just like, this is such a bummer of a turn if we don't get something else on board. I mean, we can add Jarvan, we could add Galio next turn. Just if we just pass and bank 2 extra mana this turn, that is not enough for anything. And we shouldn't have to worry about too much coming out of him in this space, right? I mean, he's got 4 real mana, so it's not like Sett's going to come in. Okay.
I'm awake. Must be some magic about.
Seems legit. I don't know, fuck, we'll just play Galio, right? That's a valid strategy at any point in time, I think. Yeah, fuck it, just play Galio. Tailstones for a progress day? That has to be awesome, right? Aftershock. I don't get what that does. So let's attack this wave. We want our Jarvan at the end. That's gonna hopefully get him to flip. So we just want to make sure he's to the right of the Broadwing there. Whew, enough for victory though. Gee.
So who's next?
That was fun. Who is next? Whew. So what do we got here? Same match. He didn't switch his decks. Let's hang on to the Omen Hawk. Oh, quick clicking on him. And then we'll see what else turns up here for the early game. Curving into Castaways. Okay. What that means is Jax is the immediate top card of our deck, and we're just going to draw that boosted Jax, right? Not today. We tried to call our shot, but it didn't land. That's okay. You can't land them all. Still a pretty reasonable curve. We'll get the Castaway on board. I don't like the Castaway just having 1 health, and so ideally something with a health attachment will land. That's fine. The fearsome thing's okay here. Still lets it attack through Reggie. I'm just going to go ahead and replay it. I don't really want the fearsome one to be the thing that we're boosting all of our stats onto. So we're going to play the Weaponsmith's Apprentice and then the Castaway, see if we can't get a healthier thing. We'll go with the Shepherd's Authority here. Help us boost our Jax.
Could be nicer. Right, to work.
Reggie says, "I got this, fam. I'm here. I'm here to block the big boy. That's what I'm about." Alright, not a bad curve though. We'll pick up the Sarion on this turn. If he manages to kill off a unit, we can potentially Parts Made Whole to try and sneak an additional attacker on the board. That's good. How close to 14 are we? I mean, I know he's going to draw a million cards, but we got 2 combat tricks in hand. This is 11, 13. Oh man, I think that thing is... probably got to be strong. You gotta pick up a serious collection of cards to get out of this, or a Concussive Palm. Right, Concussive Palm does get out of this, but I gotta say, this is a frightening place for the opponent to be in. Gotta like seeing Formula come in. Tags out our Sarion with only 2 mana left. All right, we'll spread it out. The thing I was... Maybe we do just load it up on the Castaway. It should be very challenging for him to... The thing is, like, I want to get the 8 damage strike in so we get to flip our Ornn. Right, attacking with the flipped Ornn is such a big deal in terms of getting the ram, especially as we're going to be trying to open attack on our next attack token. But if he has a way to just stop our biggest unit, it feels like kind of a wasted combat trick. But he should have been a pretty safe target given that... he was going to go up to 6 health, and he shouldn't be able to play Concussive Palms or Tag Outs. Those cards are just too expensive. All right, into the next one, though. Nilah, Janna. Let's see here. Nilah, Janna. I saw Jinx, Kennen in there. And what was the last one? Shen, Jarvan. I think Shen, Jarvan is typically the ban here. That's the one. Yeah, you see that. You see that Shen Jarvan pop up and just the negative matchups across the board. And so Jinx Kennen is another one that I'm not you know, juiced about playing against. It looks like we don't have notes on it for Aatrox Vayne. Aatrox Vayne is a weaker matchup in this space. They're definitely able to just develop these really wide boards and just not care about a lot of the stuff that we can do, and our birds have trouble like challenging through that stuff, and so it's a tough matchup. But Jarvan Shen is going to be the takedown here, and hopefully we'll be in a space to where, you know, we can continue to have success against Nilah. Ooh, he takes Aatrox Vayne out. Okay. Well, let's lead off with the Formidables. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for the Formidables to actually win a game against Jinx. The thing that we kind of found in the Jinx Kennen meta was the 3 health units are so big, and so things like Petricite Broadwing coming in and being able to 2-for-1 against his little 2-1s. And then the other thing that can be really big in this is just the presence of Omen Hawk. If he plays his turn 1 play and then we block it with Omen Hawk and then get the boosted stats, and so we start getting 3 health units on the board, like it's a very powerful angle there as well. But the way I'm going to approach this is I want to prevent every single point of damage that we can, and then ideally we can just grind them out with these 2-for-1s. Now Badger Bear turns up. Opponent has an awkward draw. They didn't just flood the board with a bunch of dudes. And so, I mean, I think we're safe to just continue in with the Formidables. I don't think we need to drop blocking Badger Bear. Like, he can play... I think I've seen some versions of this deck play Skip. It's not ultra common, but I think I've seen it. This is fine. Again, sitting at 20 feels pretty choice against this deck. Developing into turn 5 and turn 6 and still being stronger than a lot of the stuff that they have. Still attacking. This is a scary attack right here, though. If he had the burn spell to shrink the Balin and not die in that combat, that's a pretty tough spot to be trying to recover in. But we got out of there so far. Now with this, like, I think we want to lead in with Badger Bear. I like having access to the elusive blocker if he wants to play like the 4-mana thing. Like, what does opponent really had go this game, right? They didn't have some kind of big aggressive curve. So I would suspect that things like Jinxes in hand aren't too crazy. Things like what did he pick? Sky Splitter, so we can still block the big boy here. I would think the things like the 4-mana elusive guy could potentially be in his hand. Seems like a handful of like units that he doesn't want. Another Sky Splitter. This is where we're gonna zing him. He's gonna block Garen with the Dunehopper mech, and we're gonna get the Sky Splitter to pop. Do we even really care about protecting the Garen? I was going to say, it's like, if he wants to develop burn spells into the Badger Bear, that is one of the ways we can kind of come in and lose this. If he starts to hit us with the elusives, but he's got a Flame Chomper in hand and stuff. It seems kind of sketch. Ooh. See what fresh Mecha Yordle will be up against. The Dunehopper mech again. I mean, he knows that we have the Sky Splitter in hand. It's not too crazy of a thing here, but let's put the Protege onto our Formidable. And so then, you know, regardless of who he hooks out of combat, we should have access to Garen and the Sky Splitter. And then the kind of thing with this is, you know, attacking with the Dunehopper mech does give us lots of opportunities for Garen to come in, given that he can just block one of the Sand Soldiers.
Rules are made to be broken. Like villains or people.
But I think this is enough. We're threatening lethal. We get to chip away at some of these units. Garen is going to strike. We should get the Garen flip and then be able to take advantage of that rally next turn. And then if something goes wrong with that rally or whatever, we still have access to the champion's strength here. The thing I don't want to do on this board is start throwing these units away in a way that he's just getting trades, right? Right as we're about to play a champion's strength, we don't want him getting trades on our 2 health units so that we can try and take advantage of those next turn. Alright, so Garen's gonna fall, unsurprising. He gets the Death Rocket. The Death Rocket not enough to actually kill any of our units here, so hopefully we'll get to champion strength before he can play a second Death Rocket next turn. Should be tough to do though, right? It's very challenging for him to play 2 cards right out the gates before we get to drop the strength. Definitely want a champion strength though, and not Galio. I mean, I guess Galio could have been okay. He's a pretty safe block in the face of Jinx, but the Petricite Charger is also a pretty safe block, having tough. Still scary though. I don't like this. This was supposed to be easier. This is supposed to be easier in these games to where he didn't have a particularly strong opener. Death Rocket rolls in. And Impact Guy. Okay. So we gotta block this Jinx. There's no way we're taking this Jinx damage here. My gosh, did we fall? Are we going down? Oh my god. We gotta do this. There's a chance that we can get this Jinx off of the board beforehand. Man, should we have just played? I don't know. I think the Galio was not better than the champion strength, but it's tough. But now hopefully we can get this Jinx off the board before she can drop more Death Rockets. I'm scared. I don't know about you, fam, but I'm scared. Or, curious if we'd rather force Jinx into blocking Galio. We'll see how this goes. He harpoons, takes us to 4, picks up the Death Rocket. Yeah. So we'll go this way. It's going to put less damage onto our Galio this way. He's got to block with Jinx. Then I don't think we want to Harsh Winds this, right? We have the chance to Harsh Winds and take down both of these units, but that opens us up to a space to where we lose to an elusive, He's only got one draw at it, though. My major concern is that if he's able to get, like, let's say this turn happens, right? We have the Galio on board. His turn, like, he plays a unit, does an attack. It comes back to our turn, and then it's like we draw a combat trick. And we're not actually able to deal any damage, and we just have to go turn after turn after turn. Like, I'm not amped about any of that. And so this does suck being at 1, but I think this does give us the biggest chance to win here. Well, if he doesn't play his card, I don't think there's anything that he can do that'll stop these from actually winning. Let's just slam before he has a chance to play a slow spell. Whew, I don't know, that was rough. Hope you all got your glute workout on that one. I certainly did. I certainly did. Jeez. That's a tough match. The Jinx Kennen deck, that was a bad draw from Jinx Kennen. I cannot state how bad that draw was from Jinx Kennen, just not doing anything and presenting the early game damage. So happy with how that turned out. Now, the thing that I was about to say is I want to see if our Bellows Breath turns up. This is one of these cards that could be fairly unexpected. People typically play between 0 and 1 copy of Bellows Breath in here. And it's something that we can just drop on turn 3 if our Omen Hawk isn't around. So it's definitely interested in seeing what that can do. Now, I'm not really keen on getting Jax on the board. Just playing Jax and having him get popped by a Mystic Shot is not the strategy we're looking to partake in today. And so we'll just continue down the road here. Keep playing a little bit defensively. And see if we can't get set up a little bit better a few turns down the road. Definitely feel safer playing Jax next turn if we're going to have access to Sky Splitter. Alright, these are the units we want to see as it comes into Bellows Breath time, but the concern is, are we going to take too much damage on this round, right? We're going to take 4. We're going to take 6. Right, he's going to hook something. I think we either have to play Jax or we have to play Fish Fight. And if we play Fish Fight, then we can't play Bellows Breath next turn. So we'll go ahead and add in the Jax now. Gonna be stuck trading him away, but I think that's okay. Or do we? Alright, let's just stop here. Trying to think in on the removal suite that this deck typically plays, and it's kind of slipping me. Now the Combat Cook comes in. It's just another one of these spots to where we can play the Bellows Breath, but he's almost completely full on board at this point. Like, I'm leaning towards doing this. Just time and dedication. We'll add in the Combat Cook.
Glad there's a chef on the team now.
It is, maybe we should have picked up... we probably should have just picked up the Scout Rake here. I think that was a mistake. I was thinking in terms of I want to be as defensive as we can with these units. And so if we pick up the Scout Rake, we can, like, attack, he blocks, we attack again, he blocks, and we lose the unit, and we're just kind of done. But the other thing with the Scout Rake is as you roll into that next turn, we do have the Wildclaw Ferocity in hand, and getting a double usage out of the Ferocities is huge. So I don't like that as much as I should have, I guess.
Love the attitude.
So this will take us to 10. Seems safer than 8.
Stories untold.
And then we're just kind of in on the ferocity at this point, right? And so if he... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I don't want to see this prank. Give him a bad prank. I was gonna say, this ferocity is just key on this next turn. I guess if it's at +2 cost, we can still be okay. Oh, we discarded it to rummage. Okay. Okay. So what are we looking at here? It's going to be a 9 ferocity. So it'll deal 6 through the promoter. And then Jax is only going to be... Jax is going to be a little less there. Trying to think if we want to just go ahead and try and pop the arena promoter. I don't think we can. It's just too risky if we lose out on our Jax.
Let me change up my style.
Maybe that is enough.
And you know what?
It says 18. He can get 3 health out of the promoter, 1 health out of another blocker. That should be enough for exacties, and we still have a Sky Splitter in hand. It's bust math, you know. It's not something to be proud of. not something to be proud of. But see, this is why I was really kind of curious if we shouldn't have taken that Scout Rake, as we could build up this turn and attack twice with the Wild Claw. Would have potentially given us an angle. Here come the burns, though. Low back Mystic Shot. Needs 1 more point now. Doesn't have it. Oof, GG. I don't know how well we deserved that one, but able to manhandle the Jinx Kennen. Move on to the next one. Okay, ooh. This is nasty. This is nasty. And so this is exactly what we don't want to be seeing. Let's pull it up and see which one's just the worst. So he's got Shen, Jarvan, he's got Ashe, LeBlanc. Those are the 2 bans we're looking to typically make. And then he's got Nautilus Maokai. Look at this just absolute sea of red that everything has across the board. And so Shen Jarvan does look to be the worst one here. That's the one that we'll take out. So this one should probably be our our first loss on the day. So Shen Jarvan. He takes down Galio. And let's lead in with Aatrox. I feel like Aatrox, I mean, it's not spectacular against any of these, but it does have some mid-game potential. Like if you don't know, it just feels like as you're up against some of these slower matches, it does kind of have a little bit of space to shine against the sea monsters. But up against Ashe LeBlanc first, this is a kind of rough one. The defectors are how like we can actually kind of come in and take over a game, but their flash freezes are just so strong against it. So my concern here with keeping a hand like this is we can't block on turn 3, and there's just like if we don't have any units by turn 3, there's just such a real chance that we get domed for like 1 million, right? If he's got the Trifarians down on board, like we really just need to find a 1-drop, and so the Steadfast Elkin is fine. Let's get him down. Really just want something that can get in front of the 5/1 Challenger Trifarian. No plays from opponent, though. That's pretty cool. I appreciate that.
I hate having to put my face on.
LeBlanc comes in. We can't really do anything about her on the block. Let's just pass. We want to take the mana here anyways. I'm curious if he just never... If he's afraid to attack with her. He's not going to be now that he has the Darkened Spear on her, but... as we just sit around with mana. If we have a +2/+2 or something, we can take the LeBlanc off the board. Let's give it a turn. We're about to develop like a pretty scout-heavy draw, and I think we might be able to do some work with this. So I don't want to just immediately rush out and try and take down the LeBlanc. And this was an actual really strong draw in the Petricite Broadwing, being able to fight through a flash freeze as far as LeBlanc's concerned. We need to get an extra point of health on it, but I think that's pretty reasonable. Now here, I don't want to get too involved in this combat. We'll just take the damage prevent with the Elkin. He's going to get to flip his LeBlanc. Not too much we can do about that. Add in Valor. Add in Quinn. Gonna have the... It's like we're out here just playing scouts, huh? Just like playing scouts. What does he have on him? He has Lodestone. Let's hang on to Lodestone. That bonus attack could be pretty critical in this game, or the +2/+2 bonus from the support.
I whisper truth into lies.
Oh, that's why she took so long to flip. We blocked her with a tough. I was like, why are we watching this animation now? Okay. Ooh, and a condemn. The thing with Condemn is if we want to play all of this stuff, if we want to play Quinn and attack twice and stuff, we only get to spend 1 mana. I think that's okay. I think I like the Condemn here.
Nothing gets between me and my mark. Still heart, steady aim.
Right, so we can do this. We have the free hook on the bird. We get LeBlanc out of combat. Get the attack token back. We can re-hook LeBlanc after this if we want. If he has something like Harsh Winds, it's kind of whatever. And so I think this is fine. Right, we still have 2 challengers here. I mean, this might realistically just be a lethal.
Scouting ahead.
So at the end of the day, I do want to take this LeBlanc down. If he's going to have a Elixir of Iron kind of card, then this should still get LeBlanc off of the board. If he has a Sky Splitter, like that's fine. Sky Splitter means he just ends up losing the game. So we get LeBlanc taken down. Like this. I like this. Not going to be playing Condemn this turn. I think it's safe to save for next turn. Or do we want to just clear out the board? I mean, it does feel a lot safer if we clear out the board. How do we lose this game? Right? It's going to involve him... it's going to involve him having, like, Ashe, and then attacking through and us being unable to... this is fine. Being unable to block enough units. So I think I like that. I'm kind of regretting not playing the Dark and Bloodletters, but I was envisioning that we were just going to use the Bloodletters as Zolani. So I kind of wanted to keep our unit around. Maybe that was a mistake. as we now as we now drop the Darkened Blood letters. I didn't think that all the way through. So do we ever get killed here? Right? Does he have any way to deal? There's no way to deal +5 with this board. It has like a might? Alright, we'll risk it. Oh no, a card's coming in? Okay, bloody bloody business is fine. This is like, oh no. Like, we punted the unpuntable game here, but that looks okay now. So now we can add in Aatrox. We're gonna look to open with Quinn. I do still worry about him having another Harsh Winds or something here. So I'd like our attacks to be pretty spread out, and then she can also come back at this with the Quinn bird when she flips and gets the hook into combat and stuff. Yeah.
Faster than my arrow? I think not.
Is no place for cowards. They cast us to the corners of the world.
So we still get to attack with Quinn. She's going to summon the bird. The bird will hook Ashe, and then we should have the 3 units we need to finish this one off.
No one escapes my aim.
Oof. Mm.
It's our time to shine, Valor.
Our time to shine. Our time to shine. All right. Hey, man. No match is a 0% win rate, am I right? Whew. Okay.
Finally, I am freed of this madness.
That's what you got to do to do well in these events, though. You gotta occasionally rise above and take down one of these tough matches. Now, I'm still not feeling good about this match, right? This is still a pretty tough matchup. I was thinking in my head, I was like, oh, cool, we just get to play against Janna a bunch of times now, and that is, excuse me, that is not the case. So we'll see if we can't unearth a little bit of magic with Jax Ornn here, but yeah, my expectations are low. Alright, so let's just go ahead and get Jax rolling. He shouldn't be able to kill Jax this turn since he spent the point of mana. It typically takes 3. Then he should be able to get safe attacks in here the rest of the way. Okay, I'm going to drop the Artisan and then just go ahead and boost our Jax. It's very easy for the opponent to deal 2 points of damage. And so I'll just go ahead and do it. We could wait till next turn and then just open with the Forge and yeah, sure. I wasn't anticipating heavy metal, but the typical removal you see out of this deck is like Quietus and then the Drain for 2 and then the Vengeance. And so kind of is what it is there. Let's pick up the Fish a Whack though. We might be overwhelming through this board a little bit, and then yeah, just have it at every angle. Just every angle. I'm gonna say we might be in this spot to where we can, do the overwhelms with him, and then we're building up into this Wild Claw's Ferocity for 2 turns from now. And so hoping to just get to slam in enough damage. There's still a chance on this upcoming turn. We'll get to replay the Fish a Whack and then build into the Wild Claw's Ferocity for 2 turns from now. It's like now that I see Jax in hand, things get a little different. He's most certainly going to be able to flip next turn, and we have to get and overwhelm another. Well, we need another weapon master on board. Just. That's tough. Let's come in with the Castaway. Go with the Shepherd's Authority. It's going to give it enough protection to not die to most stuff. We'll put the... Eat away from deep. We'll just take it. We'll get a better block in the future. We don't need to get that unit off the board. So now, this is tough. This is tough.
Honoring Acacia by pounding bad guys.
Well, we'll try it this way. No vengeance, please. No vengeance, please. It's not going to be enough for lethal, but getting this big, this big 10 damage strike is what would let us flip the Ornn, and then we could potentially have Ornn crash in on the following turn. Double jettison, so he's going to be deep. That's fine. That'll be enough. He can kill Jax with the 3/5, but we get the big strike that we were looking for. That's key. And so the next thing that we can kind of look towards is we will get to play Ornn. And, well, I guess we don't, I forgot we have the Fish-a-Whack in hand. I was looking for ways to where our Ornn was going to pick up Overwhelm, and we have it. It's just the Fish-a-Whack is the way to do it. So Nautilus comes in. Alright. Alright, we might be there. We might be okay. So he has Fearsome. We can block him with the Artisan right now. But he has his challenger thing. So I think this is probably just going to have to be a Harsh Winds turn. As unfortunate as that is. Can't play Ornn, right? He'll just kill us. So what if we add Blacksmith? We can still play the Harsh Winds afterwards, and then next turn we can look to get the Fish-a-Whack on board and everything. Okay. This should be better, right? The Omen Hawk's never going to connect for damage, and now we get the Mega Tusk off the board. Just take away 2 of his blockers, so maybe the innovative Blacksmith actually does get in for a point or something. Maybe. I don't know. Like, if he just has a handful of units, we have a real chance of punching in for some damage next turn. Like, I know he gets to block... he gets to block, like, the full amount off of 1 unit with Nautilus, but we might be able to get out in front of it the rest of the way. So we'll play the Ornn. We want to copy the Fish-a-Whack out of hand.
Good. Yes.
Let's see. I don't know. You can do the math at home. I'm not going to do it. I'm not doing that. Vengeance, yeah. I'm curious now if there wasn't an angle on that last turn. Oh, it would have been short, but if we played catch onto the Alpha Wildclaw to get the Fish-a-Whack on board to be able to block Nautilus, then we could have played our guy. Maybe that'll present itself in a turn or two. but let's keep at it. We'll still get ourselves around to another attack token. We can, as it stands, just soak a Nautilus hit. It's out of cards in hand. Maybe something will turn up. Man, it's like if we if we pick up another Overwhelm, God, it's so close to doing some big shenanigans here. But here's what I'm thinking is we still just come in and block the Nautilus. We're gonna harsh winds the Nautilus. The question we're gonna have here is, do we want to let him draw a card, or do we want to prevent that 3? And I think we need to prevent the 3. It's like if he gains 6 and we have to do a full do like a full 17 damage next turn. I don't think that's quite there. But we might still have a shot this way if we draw Ornn now. All right, Fame Jam. Ornn, right? Maybe? Give us the chance here. Fish fight. That's not enough. It's not enough. But I think that was close. That was as bad as the matchup as that is. To be in that space to where you're potentially developing wins is pretty big. I still kind of want to go back to that harsh winds turn. That initial one. I'm just wondering if there wasn't a spot to where we didn't get that just like gigantic block onto Nautilus and take away like 10 of his health, and then try and set up something on the following turn to where you do get that just big overwhelm attack through him. There was probably a realistically pretty strong angle there.
Kindle, did you wander off again?
All right, well, let's continue on with the curve. This is another matchup to where Bellows Breath can have a bit of surprising potential, in the sense that there's a lot of Omen Hawks and Trifarians and LeBlanc kind of cards that you can potentially take down with the Bellows Breath, as we see LeBlanc come in here now. That's what I'm kind of leaning towards for this upcoming turn. We can play the Castaway here. As far as the equipment goes, we probably want the Shepherd's Authority. Well, the Pan of Pain is going to soak up more health though, right? If we're going to play the Bellows Breath next turn. Well, I guess that play's not a thing anymore, but it was worth a shot while we had the chance.
Surprised to see me.
So let's keep our health high. I don't think we're going to use these apprentices anywhere else. So we can pass there. The other kind of interesting thing here is we can attack with the guy. And then we're going to want to just like follow up with Fish Fight. But we need a 4-power Fish Fight. We should be able to get there with the Castaway. Take the fix in 5,000.
Anything with anything. I'll prove it. A chill in the air. Lefty loosey.
Alright, he just gets blocked. I mean, it seems reasonable for Fish Fight, even if he has a Elixir of Iron. It does potentially put us in this spot next turn to where he only has 2 health, and then we get a Bellows Breath onto the LeBlanc. We're gonna get that Bellows Breath before the day's before the day's over with. That play is gonna happen.
What a treat.
Get shipwrecked.
By his hammer.
We still have a Weapon Master on board here. Okay. Just keep that health high. If he's going to get a big, like, knockout blow turn on us, then I do want to keep our health high. So if he gets an attack with Ashe and LeBlanc and another high-powered dude, then we have that opportunity to take the damage and not die. Another Bellows Breath. It's like right as he right as he picks up the Explorer to blow up the equipment. I think this turn's just an open. Like I would like to have like quick attack on Sarion, but it just feels kind of sketchy to me. Yeah. Maybe we should have just attacked with one unit there. Giving up 2 to the Harsh Winds was kind of painful.
Few earn the right to call themselves Trifarian.
So he's out of mana at this point. I think we need to go Blacksmith just to get the dude on board. Combat Cook can be pretty big though.
Not even I know what I'm cooking up.
Okay.
All the world on one arrow.
So Ashe comes in. I mean, we don't have too much choice in what we can do here. I think we just have to go for the fish fight. I mean, she's not going to be presenting lethals here. It's just like we're going to drop the fish fight, and then if he has another Ashe in hand or a small flash freeze or something, we're in such a bind. Yeah, we couldn't build out of the Elixir of Iron.
Surprised to see me.
There's the flip.
My aim is true.
Don't have any blocks. Okay, GG. Yeah, my expectations for that one were pretty low. I was glad we're able to get a game. It's tough. Like in that game, I feel like if we weren't up against the Darkened Spear, then we would have been in a pretty good space to take that down with the Bellows Breath. I don't know. Like I don't like that turn we attacked with both units. We should have just attacked with one. I think if you attack with a unit there and it gets hit with a flash freeze, that's fine. Losing both units to the Harsh Winds is just too much. And so I think that was a pain point. But I'm also curious if I didn't get it kind of like locked up in my head that we can't play Bellows Breath because he has the equipment removal in his hand. And we should have just said fuck it and started AoEing. I don't know. It's just like it's such a heavy mana investment to just take an Explorer off of the board. So that was a tough spot. Yeah, I think looking back at that, we should have probably, I think just attacking with the Sarion with no equipment probably would have been fine because he can't block it with the Explorer and kill it. That was the big pain point in that game was the Explorer got to kill something, and we should have just never let that happen. And so it's like I think attacking with the Sarion into LeBlanc and her having Elixir of Iron kind of probably okay. You probably still lose that game if you trade an Elixir of Iron for your Sarion at that point anyways, but we could have put the equipment on it to at least taken that angle away. That's tough. I don't like how we played that. I think if we got a redo, we would have had like like a 33 to 40% chance to win that game, which is way better than a 0% chance. And so that's kind of a bummer. But those are the kind of lineups I was ultimately worried about coming into this event. It's why all of our lineups have all of the Omen Hawks and all of the blocking Badger Bears in it. Is I wasn't expecting that one in particular with the Ashe, LeBlanc, and the Shen Jarvans and that line. I was expecting Teemo's, because Teemo has a lot more interesting matches other places, like the Teemo Yuumi decks, and we did ban out the Teemo Yuumi earlier, but I wanted to be in that space to where if we're playing against opponent with, say, like Nilah Janna and then Teemo Yuumi and then something like Shen Jarvan, then we have that opportunity to ban out the Shen Jarvan and then have a little bit more play against the Teemo Yuumi. And so that was the kind of thought and the angle there. But our first loss, let's see if we can't take down another victory somewhere. I don't know what it takes to make the second day now. If you have to have the 9 wins in North America, or if you can make it in 8 and 3. I know in APAC, I think in APAC a lot of people are able to make the second day in 8 and 3. So that might be the case for us as well. But you know, we won't think about that. Is a Bill Belichick line, the Patriots coach. Everybody is trashing on Bill Belichick like he isn't one of the greatest coaches in the world, and that Tom Brady did all the work in New England, and the only reason New England ever won games is because of Tom Brady. But Bill Belichick, he said it's not, you don't think about the whole season, right? You don't say, how many wins do I need to make the playoffs? Do I have to go 10 and 6, or do I have to go 9 and 7, or can I make it at 8 and 8? You don't think of the season in that terms. It's not a 16-game season. 16 one-game seasons, right? Just the one game each week is all that matters. You can't change the game in the past. You can't deal with the one in the future yet. You can only deal with that game that's happening right now. And that's what we'll try to we'll try to carry on the rest of the way here. All right, and there we go. It's the same guy. Man, I was wondering if we should have tried to Q dodge this guy. I was really worried about getting paired into this guy twice, and that's what's happened here. I thought we should probably take some time off in between the matches. Didn't do it, and now we have to run into this nightmare again. And so let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. We'll kick things off with Aatrox Vayne again. Brutal. Reasonable enough start though, with the Broadwing into the Darkened Spear. Gives us a frostbite free way to fight through some of the early game. I knew it though. We should have. I saw that Q going up, and I was just thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, you can just leave the queue. you don't have to sit through this thing, man. You can just jump back in later. And it's like we're getting a bit of a punish for it. But triple Omen Hawk start from the opponent. It's a little scary. That's a little scary. I'll give it that. That first unit that comes off the top is going to be massive. So we can clear the board out here. That's good. I like the ability to also build up into Aatrox in this space. And so we're going to be getting a lot of weapon-based strikes out of here. I'm fine to just throw away the Quinn Bird in this space. I'm going to send the Valor into the Omen Hawk, and then we'll send Valor into the other one. Because I want to keep our Broadwing available. Now that he's played this guy, if he has an Elixir of Iron, he's just going to survive it anyways. So let's try and take down his big Omen Hawk, and then we can send Valor into the 3-1. Interesting. Oh, he doesn't have the mana. I guess that makes sense. I was like, why aren't you destroying our equipment? This makes no sense to me. He's only got 1 mana now. Things make much more sense. Here's a big boy. I'm not taking 8. So we'll take the block. We'll at least get a strike out of it for Aatrox. We'll get the little guy on board, and then we can roll into this next turn, see how things change. This is a spot, like, maybe we should be adding Badger Bears. I do like... I worry, I should say, that if he plays a unit, we attack with the Defector, and then he has an answer and just gets to crash in next turn with this giant thing. It's pretty tough for us to come back at that point. So I have a little bit of worry with that. But now that we picked up Valor, I feel much safer. And the real question becomes, do we even care about these units? I don't think we do. Like, I think I'm kind of okay just to leave these units on board. Let's lead with our scout attack. Like, we're definitely doing this. I'm looking at playing maybe the Darkened Bloodletters onto the Darkened Thrall. But that's not even that great. Let's play the Bloodletters onto our Bird. See where that gets us. We can send Bird into the Glory Seeker.
A chill in the air.
That's annoying.
If it's a fight they want.
All right, well, we got to get Guy off board. Oh no, that's a disaster. Okay. He's not going to be able to lethal us just yet, but sure. It's down to one card. Ugh. So he can take a hook into Bird, hit for 13.
Our strength is yours.
It's big though, getting Aatrox on board. He can block everything else and not have any issues with it.
Face me.
Leaping into action.
Yeah, he says that sucks. He says, I don't like what Aatrox is bringing to the party.
You are nothing.
All right, we've got our World Ender down to 12. So it's got a bit of potential coming up here soon. I think we might be okay in this one. So we can try and present the lethal, right? We can Darken Harp onto the Darken Thrall. That's going to be 5 and 6, that's 11 plus the Badger Bear, but if he has a Harsh Winds, you know, we just don't get to clear out any of this board, and I really like this, getting the heal off of Aatrox, so that, you know, we're above Reckless Trifarian range, and then we also get that unit cleared off the board. This is pretty good. I think we're safe in this one. It's like, even if he has some kind of, I don't know how many flash freezes he's done this game, but even if he has an Ashe and if he has a another way to get a unit on board, I think we're safe. So do we have to play a unit here? I really don't want to play a unit here. So he attacks with everybody. He's gonna hook Aatrox with the Glory Seeker. We can form up through that. We can block the other two however we need. We can probably get away with just blocking the Reckless Trifarian and then letting the damage through with the Anaka. But the other thing here is, I think what I want to do is play Striatu, and then we can just re-equip the Darkened Thrall with the Aatrox equipment. Holy shit. Talk about a draw. Talk about a hit off of the Anaka, huh? Must be nice just drawing 3 cards off of that. It's like playing against Janna and just assuming the game is over with at this point, which which it should be. God damn it. So we can block like this. Then I'm gonna look to... What's this do? This takes our World Ender to 8. Then we could put the World Ender thing onto Dark Enthrall. And then we'll still have the Broad-Winged Anaka. I felt so much better about this when he only had 1 card in hand. Who knows what kind of bullshit we're running into now. Gonna be herpity derpity, here's a strike card. Fucking nonsense. Of all the hits, like here it is, here comes the strike. It's like, of just all of the things I was, out of all of the things I was really like worried about in that, I just knew something was gonna happen. It was gonna be either, I was expecting it to just be multiple Anakas, and you're like, oh boy, well that was fun. You know, thanks for, thanks for bringing that, but what a shitty way to go. It's like, it's just so vital to be able to bring these matches down, and we had that one in such a space. We worked that one to be like in such an advantage, and then just fucking RNG says no thank you. It's fucking brutal. But all right, we can't keep any of this hand. We need to be picking up like really high-powered scout-based draws to beat this, and that hand just didn't do anything. It's like playing a blocking Badger Bear is not gonna really affect the early parts of the game, and so this is much better. Picking up these Broadwings is good. It gives us a way to try and challenge down the Sea Scarabs. So let's see if we can't take one of these things off of board. Oh, such a bummer, man. Alright, but we got the scouts. Let's see what they can do. Get the Defector online. We can drop the Darkened Spear. I'm curious if we even really want to drop the Darkened Spear onto the scout. Like, getting these Sea Scarabs off of the board is quite important, but I think this is okay. This helps us ramp up into the Aatrox. Heavy metal, okay. So we still get to attack with the Defector even though the equipment got removed. Sea Scarab's not enough to stop it. Try and get it off of board. And the Have-It-Alls today, sure. Why not? Why not have it all? Okay, well, we can try and attack through that. We need to get this Wanderer off the board. I don't want to just let it sit. The Darkened Harp hopefully lets us just continue through. The kind of bummer about this angle we took is if we want to play Aatrox this turn, then we lose access to our form-up. But I fully expect something like a Vengeance to roll through here. It's just... it's just too standard with how this game has been going. Oh, interesting. He thought of pushing something forward and then didn't do it. I'm curious to what that means. No thank you on that. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Oh, it's a jettison. Is that really enough? Oh my god. Okay. It's just the way it is today. Insane. Insane. Like, I get that these aren't good matchups, but to have the matchups go in this fashion is just obnoxious. It's just obnoxious. We have waited so long, Zolani. Alright, let's see what we can do. The Quinn bird. Not exactly what I was looking for, but it does help us get the job done with this Aatrox. I mean, this is the world we live in at this point, to where we're gonna be hooking the Devourer of the Depths. Like, we did have the option. I mean, I guess we could have put the Elkin in front of the Devourer of the Depths to shrink its health by 2. All right. All right. GG. Oh, there we go. All right, and so I gave the queue a bit of time, and now we're back in action here, up against AJ the Pro. We'll go ahead and pull up the decks. I mean, I feel like it should be pretty straightforward in terms of just leaving Janna, Nilah, and Scouts up, but you search for Scouts, it doesn't turn up. But let's take a quick peek real quick. Like I don't think Galio Jarvan ever turns up as far as decks go. I think you got to go and search for Galio Volibear. That's kind of as close as we get. I know what he's playing. I looked at a lot of his lineup kind of beforehand, and I think that the Galio one is the one that we end up just wanting to take out. And so we'll go ahead and strike that away. See if we can't go through AJ the Pro. Get up to that 8-win spot. He did manage to win the last open, and so I guess that doesn't directly qualify you for Worlds. I'm not entirely certain how that works, but he did get the season 1 event win. I figure like it should just give you enough points to get there, but I'm not certain how many Worlds qualifier spots there actually are. He also did it. We were playing a very similar lineup. He kind of independently worked on that champion strength Teemo deck, and so he ended up playing the Warden of the Tribes deck as opposed to playing the what you called Ashe LeBlanc that we brought last season. All right, though, up against Scouts, we'll lead off with the Aatrox Vayne, see what we can turn up. I do like starting with these Blinding Assaults. We can't use it until turn 4, but it should be able to get quite a bit of board clear against this, especially with the tough equipment. And so I feel like we should be able to use it to take down a 2-1, take down a 2-1, and then be able to block another unit or something. I feel like we should get quite a bit of value out of this Blinding Assault. And so we do... kind of okay here against the more mid-rangey starts. This is going to be really painful if he has one of those starts to where it's like a 1-drop into a Mirai Warden into a Misfortune. We just kind of fold up and die against that, and so hopefully it's not too rough out the gates. No 1-drop. No 2-drop, am I right? No, he's got one of those. I'll go ahead and offer up the trade on the Broadwings. I feel like if he drops Misfortune on this next turn, we have to kind of hard pivot in what we're doing. I mean, maybe that's not the truth. Like, we do have the Dark and Aegis we can drop here. I don't think he's gonna have another unit at this point, and now maybe we can start to pop off with our own Scouts plan. So I'm going to add the Defector. We'll load it up with the Darkened Spear. See if we can't clean out some of this board. Interesting having the Bark Beast come online. Do we ever just not... There's no way we just don't Scout attack here. He's going to get to block it and grow the Bark Beast. That's fine. Interesting. So is he the one that we take off of the board? Like, as it stands right now, I'm not particularly worried about any of these challenges, and I don't think I'm worried about the Bakai Reaper growing. So let's do just hook in the Bark Beast, shrink up his board. The thing with this is he can't champion Strength next turn, right? He's only going to have 7 mana. And so getting the opportunity to clear out some of this stuff is extremely important. We're also got to be looking to just say Cataclysm our Defector into something and try and get the rally and wear his board down again. We are not going to play particularly strongly into the face of a champion Strength, and so we got to take down what we can. I don't know about you, but I do like to play strongly. It's very, very important. Very important. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and bring the hook onto the Bakai Reaper. I get a little concerned about a +2/+2 combat trick. If we try and hook our Defector into the Broadwing and fail, it's gonna be nasty, and so that's not what I want to see. Now, how do we feel about Valor being able to come out and survive this stuff? I think I'm okay with just adding our own. Just playing the Blinding Assault, using that to try and hook another one of these units down. And at the end of the day, if we're trading our 2 mana combat trick for his 2 mana combat trick, I think that that's okay. We want the 2/1 onto here. So if he does play the combat trick to the right, we still get to keep our better unit. I was like, where's our +1 million unit that should be coming off the top of the deck? He's turned up. It's the Steadfast Elkin. So I think we can just face a champion Strength here, right?
Demons walk among us, masquerading as men.
I think it's safe. He's gonna get some like multi-attacks out of Quinn, but just like being able to drop this Steadfast Elkin is huge.
Still heart, steady aim. So Vayne goes down. We can take 6 off of the Warden. That's not the biggest problem we've seen. Would we want to just throw away the Broadwing so that we can pick up a free Dark, or pick the Dark and Aegis back up? I don't think so. Scouting ahead.
Look closely at their eyes, full of fear.
We'll just take the Quinn off the board. I think that's fine. Like our re-attacks this turn. Can we ever lethal? We're 1 short of the lethal, right? If say we Blinding Assault, hook his 2 units out of combat, we're only dealing 4 damage with the Defector, leaving us 1 short. Okay.
If we hesitate, we die, and I'm not interested in.
But I got to imagine if we can just drag this on for a little bit longer, then we should probably be able to we should probably just be able to grind him down. You can start being like, check out my Darkin. My Darkin is ready to attack today. So we'll see. We'll see if it comes to that.
Every work demands a piece
of ourselves.
The ocean charts our course.
Alright, so how bad is life now if we have to deal with a second champion's strength, right? There's just not... We don't have any real way around it. We're just going to have to accept that it's potentially a thing, and if he has the second one, that we're just dead. So let's just build up some board where we can. I think we can add in the Broadwing first. Fuck me. Okay. Let's protect our biggest of boys here. If he starts making attacks, we can get a double block out of the blocking Badger Bear. I think that's a fairly safe way to go about this. I would like to get these scout units off of the board. We do want the Broadwing to die, but we do still have a chance to attack back after this if we want. I don't think I'm super interested in it. So this would drop us to 2. That sounds like a little much in the face. Like if he just plays Misfortune, then we die next turn. Okay. So we've got the spear back in hand. We can look to add the Blinding Assault. I think that leaves us kind of safe for next turn. And then having 8+4 mana, we can potentially Darken Spear and Tumble to try and pick up a bigger collection of units. Uh-oh. That's a bit unfortunate for our bird. That's a bit unfortunate for our bird. Okay. Aatrox finally turns up. As it stands, we're not dead to a 4 Demacia. He's going to get multiple scout attacks out of the Island Navigator. How does that work? It goes up to 8. The question is going to be, do we want to add the Darkened Spear or do we want to add Aatrox? And I think we just want to add the Darkened Spear. The thing with Aatrox, I mean, he does let us gain a little bit of health. He can block the smaller ones, though. He can block the Mirai Wardens and the Duran Sculptors. Alright. I'm going to say our World Ender should cost like 1 mana at this point as well, and so that was something I was kind of hoping was on the table. Say, I don't think I'm missing anything here. I think we've got this one. Whew. Okay. Good job, team. Fighting through 2 champion strengths. You deserve a rest after that. You deserve, after all of that strength, you deserve a protein shake. And a recovery massage. That's what you deserve. Alright, so what do we got here? On the odd attacks for this one. So I worry about hanging on to things like Balin when games like this turn up. Just a little bit too slow. But we do have a pretty reasonable curve. My major concern with hands like this are kind of like that last game, how he didn't have a 1-drop. If he does come at us with 1-drops, we don't have any way to interact. And dropping like Durand Sculptors on turn 2 is not particularly blocky. Right? You don't usually... You can play the Sculptor on 2 and just trade it, but it's not something that you're typically excited about. You're excited about being blocky, you know? It's like we're out here playing Minecraft or something. Alright, Mirai Warden comes in. We can block the Poro Fly half of this, so I'll go ahead and add in the Durandi Sculptor. And see if we can't start at least generating some stat points here to shut down his combats. Ooh, Omen Hawk turned up as well. That was a pretty choice draw, if you ask me. Say, oh, you've got a misfortune, huh? Don't mind if I bring the little hook in today. Alright, he's got a Broadwing of his own. He can add in Omen Hawk now. And so, with this, like, I'm pretty okay with it. If he plays a combat trick and just shrinks his Broadwing down to 1 health, it takes away a lot of his kind of tempo style plays. And so we would lose the unit, but he would have to spend all of the mana and then only have the 1 health guy left over. So I think that's okay. And we do have the Sky Splitter to potentially boost a health back up if we need to, if Misfortune comes online or something.
Set sail.
Stay still.
And I'm going to block with the Sculptor. If he's got a combat trick of his own, I do want to have some recourse in terms of trying to hook the Misfortune back in next turn. You just top deck Garen like a boss. That's the way. That's the way you're supposed to do it, right? I'm pretty sure that's the way you're supposed to do it. It's in the rule book, you know. But we had a handful of draws we could have picked up there to contest the Misfortune. Says I got cards of my own. I got cards of my own, bust. So let's do just Garen. It's like if we're running into a champion strength on this next turn, we do have the harsh winds to try and fight through it. And then otherwise, you know, if we get to build into Galio a couple of turns from now, that can activate the Broadwing back up for us. So I'm interested to see how his mana spend goes here, right? It's like his open attack can't feel that great. And so he's at exactly 8 mana. So it's like he either has to just kind of open with the champion's strength, which, don't get me wrong, that's not bad here. And then if he plays a card, we don't know that he doesn't have champion strength, but we know that it can't come down this turn. And so it gives us a little bit of a safety net. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to just play 2 units and then play Galio next turn. And so we'll see if that's the way that this cycles around, but interesting. It just comes right in. That's what would lead me to believe a champion's strength is on the way. Like, that's the easy one. Do we want to give up on Durand Sculptor at this point? Because what I kind of look at for the follow-up is if he's only got 3 units and we get to Harsh Winds 2 of them. Like, that's a very minimal amount of damage that we're about to take. Okay, we'll give up on Sculptor. Get the misfortune off of the board, and then we're just gonna pass, right? If we take this big bank into the next turn, it's not the end of the world. Getting killed by champion strength here is the end of the world. And so we'll let that roll through. Let's continue to pass. Just do something like this. So we get to take the sculptor off the board, don't take any damage. I mean, you might as well block. It's not going to do anything at the end of the day, but okay. Okay, so we fought through that part. Now, the next thing to kind of take note of is we are going to get the rally next turn. And oh shit, we just do a Wrath of the Freylord. So it's like, as long as our Garen doesn't die, we're going to be getting a rally. And with that rally, you know, what can we do with that? And so, I mean, I think the Wrath of the Freylord is the angle that we're going to look to take. So I think we just want to, well, we can get some more dudes on board first. I'm going to go Badger Bear and I'm going to go Charger. And we'll see if he has any units big enough to really contest what we're going to be presenting. He does. So this is just going to be a Garen attack. He should be safe. Opponent only has 3 mana. I had the Petricite Charger. Now, ideally, we're going to get this rally on the next turn, and the Wrath of the Freylord will be enough. If we have to fight through a second champion's strength, we are at least in a point to where it shouldn't kill us. So that's always a bonus, not being dead. Oof. We got the victory. GG. Well played. Whew, we only got one left in us. We got one final battle to go. See if we get the guaranteed shot into day 2 with the 9th win, or if we have to sweat it out and see if 8-3 is good enough here in NA. All right, the final match up against the Slavic Pickle. Let's see how these look. And so, again, there's Seraphine Sett. That's the one. I'm not like a huge fan of playing against it, but the matchups aren't terrible. Scouts, and then Aatrox Vayne. And so Aatrox Vayne, Misfortune. Get these pulled up real quick. And so, yeah, I mean, the Seraphine Sett deck, it's strong against Jax Ornn, but it looks like our lineup is pretty strong against Aatrox Vayne, and then, of course, we're still fine against Scouts. And so it looks like Seraphine Sett would be the ban here. And let's see what we can do. Let's see how this final match goes. Seraphine Sett. Where you at? Get out of here. Whew. Intense final battles. But the matchups seem reasonable. I don't think we can really complain about running into this. This is a very popular lineup coming out of the Duck Cup, but he's playing the Aatrox Vayne in the place of Janna Nilah. So very interesting. But let's kick things off with the Freylords. I don't really want to lead out with a mirror match, and so we'll see. We'll see if the Aatrox Vayne mirror match rears its head. It's not something I've played a ton of. And it can be ultra swingy from the games that I know that I have played against it, and so we'll see how it goes. But all right, reasonable enough start. We're definitely getting rid of Jarvan. Do we want to hang on to the Durand Protege though? This is not the kind of match like the Durand Protege is a superstar if we have our heavy hitters like a Petricite Broadwing, or if we have a Balin. But without them, it's a little slow. But I think I'm going to hang on to it here. This should be a very kind of combat-centric matchup. And so with that in mind, maybe it's going to be okay. My concern with this hand and running into this match is finding these spaces to where we can't... Like, we can deal with a lot of these combats against these smaller units and stuff. The place I start to get concerned is... If we're going to be out and battling against things like the scout unit with the scout unit with like a good equipment attached to it or something. So I'll go ahead and initially take that damage. Very interesting having the champion strength turn up. It does really signal that we should be in this space to where we're not out here making trades. We want to be winning combats, getting this full board. We can definitely build up a lot of board width. And then as we circle back around to turn 5, we can look to champion strength. Maybe we'll wait until turn 6. We have some options as far as that's concerned. It just feels like, man, looking at this board, and it's like playing a champion strength next turn. He has to block just so much of it that like it shouldn't outright win the game, but it should full clear his board, which in turn just outright wins the game. It's very tough, but we can also pretty easily just get the full 6 units on board and then look to play champion strength 2 turns from now. And I think that that is probably the way to go about this. So I'm going to add in the Hound. The thing that scares me here is if he's going to play the Scout unit, and then with the Scout unit, like tumble. But now that he doesn't have the mana to play the Scout unit, I think this is okay. And we should be pretty open to just champion strength next turn. Like, his open attack doesn't kill us. And if he just comes out playing Aatrox, I think that's pretty good for the home team.
All that lives, I will end. War is no place for cowards.
Alright, let's send him all. He does get a good block this way on the Omen Hawk, but everything else here is fine. And then he's going to take chunks of damage out of this, and the next turn we can open with Jarvan. Jarvan coming into Aatrox should be quite strong. I'm pretty certain he also has a +2/+2 in his hand, and so getting to well, I guess he doesn't have the mana for it this turn. It's felt like he's had the +2/+2 this game, but I guess he doesn't have the opportunity here. Oh man, I saw all these Dark Enthralls hit the board, and I was like, what the fuck? How did he get so many blockers? But I guess that makes sense. Everything's okay for the moment. Alright, here comes the squad. Sky Splitter turning up for good measure.
Soldiers of Demacia, stand with me.
Okay. Round 1 victory. Let's see if we can't snatch one more game, one more victory, get ourselves into that top cut. It's probably all those premiums, you know? We got that premium Aatrox skin out here. It's ready to go. It's ready to shine. Let's see if it rears its head today. All right, we definitely need some units, though. Again, I'll hang on to the Darken Harp. This is another match to where if we pick up a Scout early, it just does quite a bit of work. But this is the potential downside in hanging onto the Harp, is we don't have any units to add to the board in the early turns. If he plays a Mirai Warden here, we're just going to get domed. And so it's ultimately pretty scary. So it's looking like it's got to be Vayne. And man, this is harsh. We just don't have don't have anything to add to the board again next turn. I'm not opposed to spending like 1 mana
Looking for trouble? It found
on the
me.
Darkened Bloodletters to Vayne, but this is tough. I think we probably just gotta wait. I want to have access to the 6 mana so that we can cast a Condemn, is what I'm looking at on this
The
turn.
ocean charts our course.
So I don't care if we end up losing the Vayne here. That's not that big of a deal. Again, the big deal with this turn is just everything in our hand costs 1,000,000 mana. We can add the Elkin. That's going to be the extent of it. I mean, where we're even going to run into a pain point next turn is like we want to get Quinn on board with the Darkened Harp, but we're not going to have the mana to do it. That just has to be what we're building towards, right? So what's our answer here? We have to stop this in some way, shape, or form. I think I'm okay with this idea of just playing an equipment. Like, we have to play the catch. What are we going to take? 8 mana on the crackback?
If we
Or 8 damage on the
hesitate, we
crackback?
die, and I'm not interested in dying.
Say your prayers.
Now, I've been down this road before to where you try and catch an equipment and then the Elkin... Does this work here? Okay, I can't remember what the interaction was to where the Elkin doesn't get tough. I really want the Elkin to have tough here, but... I can't remember this. Oh, fuck me. Oh, fuckity fuck. We didn't get to play our card. Oh no. Oh no. That's brutal. That's brutal. Okay. All right. Well, let's take it to let's take it to game 3. But I mean, that's why it's so tough with the Darkened Harp. Like, you can see in that game to where if we had a scout unit, be it a Quinn bird, be it from the Quinn, or be it from the cultist, it just does such incredible things. But if you have these awkward draws to where you don't pick up a unit, you just get completely blown out. And so that was rough. I mean, that sucked not getting to play the spell there, but kind of is what it is at the end of the day. All right, though. Final battle. Let's see what we can do. Reasonable enough start. Got an interactive bird along with a badger bear. Picked up an equipment pretty early. See if we can't get some good shenanigans happening with our Broadwing and our Darkened Aegis. Whew. Broadwing number 2. We'll just pass. I really want to get this Aegis up and running on the Broadwing before we go too crazy with what's happening on board. We did pick up the Ranger Knight Defector, which is quite interesting in terms of how we spend our mana this turn. I think we're fine to not spend, especially now that he's dropped the harp onto Vayne. And so the thing we'll be looking to do next turn is if we pick up an equipment for the Defector, great. We can maybe get something big and fantastic happening with that. If we don't, then we can still make the Scout attack. His blocks here aren't particularly good. And then we can still 1 mana Condemn at the end of the day. We have a good interactive in the Petricite Broadwing. I feel like we should be able to get a pretty reasonable clear on this board. The thing I'm kind of worried about was like a catch coming in. That's why I didn't attack into the Elkins on turn 2. So the thing here is like catch isn't that scary in terms of just blocking. If he catches and has an equipment in hand, that's kind of unfortunate, but the equipment shouldn't put the shouldn't put the Elkin into a space to where they're actually getting kills on our units. And so
Say your prayers.
ooh, he does bring the Vayne block. Interesting.
Interesting. Oh, we messed this up. We're still at 3 health though, aren't we? Okay. There's potential for this to go awry. We should have condemned in the middle of combat. I caught it as soon as I pushed the button. As soon as I pushed the button, I saw this. If he does have that catch, this has a lot of potential to be bad. Okay, he doesn't have catch. I guess that's safe to say at this point. All right, more Vaynes turning up. He's gonna load up the harp onto this bird as well. Pioneer. I think it's okay if he blows this up. It is kind of our weakest equipment at this point. I say I'm not gonna be too surprised if this isn't removed, but now it kind of gets us in this place to where
Those who kill innocent.
I would like to get the Jarl going, go for the Darken form instead of being stuck down here as is. Interesting. And so I kind of like this Broadwing hook into the Fleet Feather Tracker. Well, we probably don't want to be doing that, right? We would kind of prefer to see him blow up the Jarl now that we found the Darken Harp. Especially with, like, tumbles. And so tumble gives us the opportunity to get the unit, get the Darken Harp on board, get the second attack for the Condemn. So if we're wanting to do that, that's 4 mana. So let's just add Badger Bear. See how he kind of responds. See if he wants to go ahead and blow up the tough equipment. How this is going to play out. So he brings a Bloodletters. So what if we do this? If we just go ahead and take the hook here, we take the hook onto the bird, get it off of the board, that'll help kind of protect our Vayne. And then that's going to pull Jarl back into hand. And then we can still just tumble, but tumble the Darken Aegis onto the Badger Bear. So that he's going to be nice and protected and healthy on this upcoming turn. I don't really want to be getting this Darken Harp on the board. Because my concern with that is, you know, we're getting to this stage of the game to where you just start casting your Darken instead of having them come down as equipment. And so if we want to get the Darken Harp down as Striatu, having it blown up doesn't feel great. And so I think I'm on board with this. He brings in a single combat. Okay. Okay. See, there's a big Darken ready to hit the board. So he just picked up his Aatrox. So how do we feel about losing Vayne here? I kind of think it just has to be okay. But then I'm looking to pivot over to adding the Zolani this turn and then adding the Darken Harp next turn. Can't just pass though. He might be in too good of a position.
They will never die because I will never let them.
Okay. Rip Vayne, you fought hard. You fought well. So we never just die here, right? He does have a 3-mana tumble. I think we're safe from that. So Striatu can hit the board. He has a strike card. He can strike Jaral onto the Striatu, but it's kind of tough to do.
You never would listen, Aatrox, but now you will.
I will not bend as easily as your puppets.
What do we get? Ooh, these cards have so much potential. Such strong hits in this space. Very interested to see how this plays out. Picking up both in equipment and the fish fight here. That can be pretty monumental. So let's do this. I'm going to put the harp onto the Zolani. I kind of expect him to just play the destroy an equipment thing. He doesn't, but this gives us a little bit more protection in terms of actually killing off that Aatrox. Now if his plan was to World Ender next turn, he can World Ender into the Jaral, but he shouldn't have the health to actually kill us with this thing. The other thing I'm kind of looking at here is if he World Enders, that's 10 mana. It's going to leave him with 1 mana. We can tumble the Striatu, put the Darkened Harp on it, and then also have Form Up. I'm pretty sure we just kill him if that's his plan. We could look to do the same thing with the Zolani, but the Zolani doesn't... I don't think the Overwhelm is going to be enough, and drawing 2 cards is always pretty cool. So we're going to tumble. He has to block this, right? Or he's dead. So that's going to remove one of his units. We get to draw some cards, which is always cool. So the thing, again, that worries me here, he just picked up an extra card and overdrew whatever, but he does have Tumble in hand, which can be a little scary, but I think the Form Up may be enough. And then if it's not, we still get to add a ton of cards next turn. Nice. Woof. GG. Well played. Give us that 9th win. Give us a delightful, hopefully a delightful little top cut. And hopefully that's enough. And so, you went 9-2. We'll have to check back tomorrow, see if we get to battle in that top cut. My chances of winning one of these things and getting a Worlds qualifier is pretty low, but I feel like we've done pretty well in these events. We're starting to get better and better and more consistent in terms of these opens. While I don't ever expect to be up to that level of people like Drissoth that are qualifying for Worlds pretty handily and being competitive there, I've always kind of maintained that if we're having a good day, if we have a good strategy in the lineup and we don't fuck up the games too much, then we should be pretty competitive in terms of pushing up into these top cuts. And then we made a pretty decent run in the last one, making the top 8. The last one that we top cut, we made the top 8, so we can certainly take some games down, but it's going to be tough. I don't really expect Worlds qualifiers, but you never know, man. If the dice roll in your favor multiple times, then you can pull it down. And so, overall, again, pretty happy with this lineup. We were looking to target scouts and to target Nilah Janna. That went pretty reasonably well, I should say. We did get blown out by scouts a couple of times, but most of the games went, pretty well. And then the only matches that we lost were that complete counter lineup that we had to face twice. And so, at the end of the day, pretty happy with how the lineup went. Pretty happy with the gameplay and stuff. Looking pretty good. Picking up a second top cut, and that is going to do it for us. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. I hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.